Yo everybody, and welcome not to a stream, not to a video, but on the updates. As you can see, today has been an update and there's a big list of card balances that has been done by Urano. He has shown it on Discord, Kong forums, also saw it on Reddit. So there's a lot of things to talk about, and in this video I will do that. So the first card we have is basically Sharpfist Exiles. Its base strength is increased by 1, so not much of a change. I think this card was already good, but with a lot of new cards getting into the mix and cards getting buffed all together, I think it was nice that this card gets 1 additional strength on all levels. Not sure if it's that much needed, but well, I haven't seen this one in a while on Diamond or anywhere else, so I'm happy that this card gets some small love. Not awesome, like whoa, you need to gonna play this card, but just maybe the 1 strength makes it a little bit more decisive. Can also easier deal with the dragons, or with the elders I mean. So that is one for Sharpfist. Next we have Voidsurgers, which also got a strength buff. As you can see, well, most people have never encountered this card before, but it's actually stat-wise pretty amazing, but it's hard to trigger it. So it got 1 more strength, and basically, well, it's now 6 strength. So on level 5, 6 strength seems very good. You can trigger it off for maybe an average on 2 damage or 3, then it's 9 for 5. So that's pretty sweet. On level 5, however, it becomes a bit trickier because you still need to deal 6 damage, and most likely you will get less value out of its ability. And its base strength doesn't increase with it, so it's a high risk, or like a high roll card. Not sure if it's gonna be seeing any more play on high ranks, but definitely keep a look on lower levels, because this might be a sweet card, especially in Ironclad, where people try to spread out their units, so this is a bit more easier to trigger. Next we got a legendary, and his name is Edrik the Fierce. This guy, here it is. And basically what happened is his strength is reduced by 1, but his ability is increased by 1 as well. And now its ability and its own strength is equal, so it is easy to know how much strength you get from its tokens. And well, mostly you're always gonna play this where it at least triggers it once, so then there is no gain. But in the rare occasions you're gonna trigger its ability on multiple units, it will definitely become stronger. And I really love this change, because I really like that you need to make sure that you trigger your card's abilities, and now this will do it. And well, more gain if you do it correctly. So this card will definitely see a bit more play, and on lower levels it's good, on higher levels it's also really good. Look at 4 mana, 7, 14, it's more than 300% value, mana strength wise. And that's even if you only trigger 1 token, and most of the times you can trigger 2, but it needs a bit of a setup. Alright, next one we got the Airraising Cats, and that one is reduced in mana and strength, which makes it awesome, because now it's 3 mana. So if you have the Sweet Cap Kittens of 2 mana, you can start trigger its ability way quicker, instead of it was 5 mana if I'm correctly, or 4 mana. So that makes life a lot easier. So well, basically this is it. Not sure if the Confuse will be still be used, but this is definitely a good push forward, where it becomes easier to get value out of these cards. I personally would have loved to see a bit more bordering confused enemy unit, maybe in surrounding confused enemy unit to attack a bordering enemy, for example, where it becomes easier to use its ability. So it's harder to play around, but now it's definitely something to look out, because you can have it on 5 mana turns. And well, that's good. That is definitely good. Alright, the next one in the list is Fluffy Badboxers. That's mana is increased by 1. So I think it was... where it is? I think it always was 5 or 6 mana, I'm not sure. And its strength is increased. Maybe not sure if this has changed, but it's fine as it is right now. And also helps out making everything work easier. Right, so for the next card we got the Melodious Sisters. Increased strength and ability by 1. I think that's a 4 mana cost card. So now it becomes 8 strength, which is pretty decent. So even if you cannot really play it for its ability strength, you have like always one more solid strength value from it. And that's definitely what you need, because it's hard to trigger confuse synergies. And also ability is also increased by 1. It's equal, so it's easy to remember, easy to play around it. And will also be pretty nice in dealing base damage. So overall this card becomes a bit stronger. Then we have Bigthrust Tigers. Decreased mana and strength by 1. I think it was a 4 cost card. And now we can see it, it's a 3 cost card. It's nice because we have seen a lot of felines on the 4 mana slot, and now they are just a bit more spread out, which you can see also with the future. So this Bigthrust Tigers is basically a 3 mana 7 strength without movement. So if you look at, for example, for Westwind Sailors, that's 3 mana 6 strength and 1 movement. So it's definitely gonna be a card that gets value. So for sure, if people have leveled up this card enough, it will be used. And same goes on for level 3 or level 1 for 3 mana, 3 strength, most likely with 1 movement if you can play it in front. Even maybe more against Shadowfen, for example, or Swarm, that places a lot of units on the board. So overall, digging this change looks pretty good. And well, as you can see, I'm on level 3, so I will definitely not gonna play this card. But eventually, once this reaches level 5, or maybe even level 4, then it becomes viable, because, well, it's gonna worth something. And then we got Wild Saberpaws, and that's awesome because this is also gonna be a 2 mana cost card. So basically, this is gonna be used often. This is something you need to be on the lookout, because on higher levels it's gonna be 5 strength and 2 movement, so it's like a Restless Goat for every kingdom. And everybody likes to run inside your opponent's base, but it's a downside obviously if you do not have if you have bordering enemies, for example, then you only gain 1 speed or even 0 speed. So it's a bit tricky. But I think this will definitely see place in aggro games, especially with the Elders up and rising, where games tend to be a bit longer. This will counterbalance it and push on the aggro games. Alright, then we have our second legendary, and that's Laurus, King in Exile. This guy, look at him, all shiny. This guy got an increase in strength by 1. Not sure if it needed an strength increase, but also I haven't seen this card often, because it's also maybe new, but its ability is also hard to trigger. It's like basically the whole confuse synergy. This card has it on itself, and then it's still difficult. But definitely run cards like this in in decks with Shadowfen, for example, or Winter Pact. With Freezing and stuff, this card becomes pretty decent. So one more strength will definitely help it to see a bit more play. And now we're gonna go for first spell, which is awesome. It gets some love. Where is it? There it is. Look at this bad boy, Flooding the Gates. 5 mana, deal 10 damage, or 5 mana, deal 5 damage. So this got an increase in 2 strength in its ability. Definitely needed. However, I'm still not sure if we're gonna see a lot of Flooding the Gates. I would try to make deck up for it. But yeah, really liking that it gets a bit more value out of it. Still not happy that it also deals damage to your own units. Would have loved to see that only enemy units, but apparently people on your own base do not discriminate between friends and enemies. So it's not gonna be like, whoa, we need to gonna use Flooding the Gates now, but this card will definitely see maybe occasionally a play by someone who wants to fool around with Flooding the Gates. Not sure. It's funny. And then we got Kindred's Grace, increased strength by 1, given to others at higher levels. So basically it gives you just a bit more strength. So if you go for Shadowfen, for example, where we also come with a Reign of Flux update, or Swarm with a lot of satires, this card will be a bit more useful. Haven't seen it a lot. Still not a big buff, but it was the update, right? Small buffs to a lot of cards that don't see a lot of play and maybe do not feel that strong. So this will definitely not make this card overpowered, but it will be for sure a card to experiment with and see if it becomes a bit more viable. Alright, then we go to the Winter Pact. In the Winter Pact we got Underground Spring, and this card got a buff in strength by 1. So it's now basically a Fort of Ebonrock that costs 1 more mana and, well, converts 1 of its own strength to your own base HP. Personally, I do not care about this card. This card needs to be way stronger, and I don't really care about my own base HP. If you watch my videos more often, then I will just use it as a resource. As long as it isn't below 0 or below 1, then I'm still alive and kicking. So, well, I would like to have this card been a bit stronger, maybe even 9 strength or 10. But that would be maybe a bit too much value for 4 strength. But definitely 9. I would have liked a bit more. But hey, if people like this, I've seen a lot of screenshots of people using Underground Spring and fool around with it. And if they like it, then, well, they like this even a bit more because it has 1 more strength. Sweet. And then we go to the Swarm already. So this is only the 1 nerf. It's Restless Goats, deals 2 damage to your own base, so be aware of that. That you can die now a bit quicker, but not much for high levels. A bit more impactful on lower levels, obviously, because then your base is only 10 HP. So be aware of that. And then we have on the Ironclad, we have Mechanical Workers. I've been playing around with the Brawl with Mechanical Workers, and it wasn't that good. And then it even had 3 strength extra. But then everybody was playing super aggro rodent decks. So now it has 1 more strength. So that's pretty sweet. Not sure if it will make the cut. But if you maybe use this as your finisher, super aggressive, have this one in your deck, it might be good enough. But for now I'm still skeptical about it. But hey, it looks, it got some small attention and a bit of love and its strength. So that's at least something. Then we have Toad the Elevated, and we go to Shadowfen, and Shadowfen got a lot of buffs. So Toad the Elevated, where are you? This bad boy has got an increase in strength and ability at higher levels. So basically 3-3, 4-4, 5-5, and it ends at 7-7. So that's 14. So that's even more than 300% value. So definitely the increase in strength is good, because now it's way easier to survive an attack. And that was the biggest problem of Toad the Elevated, that it will always die after attacking an enemy unit. So then you do not even trigger its own ability. And now it's value-wise pretty strong. So happy to see this guy getting buffed. Then we got Clerics with Cords. So I'm super happy that this card got a buff, because it was really underwhelming, especially if you compare to Witches of the Wild, where Witches of the Wild was basically Clerics with Cords only on all bordering, where this guy only converts one and doesn't move. So now it's not a bad copy on the lower levels, because it can convert a 2-strength unit, so that's pretty decent and pretty good. Like, you can get your Fel Flares converted. And on higher levels it's also triggering 6 cost units, and basically gets a lot more than 5 cost units. So if you can trigger this bit more consistently and get those insane values out of it convert, it becomes really good. And helps maybe a little bit with converting your opponent's elders and getting those elder powers yourself. So that is something to keep in mind. Then we got Venomval Spire. Basically this card got an increase in strength by 1 on the higher levels. So basically we're gonna go for 4 to 6 now. I think that's the update. So basically it still dies at execution, but still not a lot of people use execution. But getting it to 7 just out of reach, and it's so difficult to get the potion synergy. So this maybe you can play this a bit more aggressively and then bait out your opponent not having the strength to destroy 7 strength Venomval Spire and then trigger Ember Heights, etc, etc in your synergies. Pretty sweet. Right, now we go to the Curse of Strings. Basically this card is increased ability by 1. So it's fine. Don't see this card often. I'm happy it got a small buff, because I'm definitely gonna use this one to convert elders as a Shadowfen player. And well, this makes it a bit easier, right? So why not? And then we go to the biggest 2 changes, or yeah, the biggest 2 changes. We got Toxic Sacrifice. Look at this bad boy. Toxic Sacrifice decreases mana by 1. So now it's just 1 mana cost card. You can do a lot of ouch to your opponent by just sacrificing one of your units and deal 5 damage to everything. Definitely poison has some impact, because it's hard against opponents who use elders. So with that in foresight, I'm really happy that it got a mana reduction, because then it's just a less yeah, you need to spend less mana, and you can easier play it also on your own elders, trigger it off. So pretty happy with this one, because Shadowfen was in a tough spot, and this will definitely help it out a little bit. And then we got the Rain of Frogs. As you can see, it becomes 1 mana on the highest level, and also decreased in spawns. Like, if you remember, I never upgraded before the level 4, because then it will be on level 5 spawn 1 strength toad on 8 random tiles, and now it's only kept on 6. And I even remember that other players do not either. For example, Frostcon also didn't upgrade it to level 5, just for that reason. Most likely because you don't want to fill up the board with so many toads that you cannot play any other card, because then it doesn't become a synergy card. And now it is a very good level 5 1 mana, so that's gonna be insane. So we're definitely gonna see maybe this one with Kindred's Grace, with Klaxi, to make some big boys to counter all those strong elders we are seeing more and more. So basically this is it for the update on all the cards. I will put the list below in the description, so you can have a look there as well. But before I go, I wanted to talk a little bit about other cards that might or could have had some updates. And for example, maybe Overchargers and Chaotic Pupil. Maybe a little bit more ability. I just also curious to see or hear what you guys think about it. And well, Mechanical Workers, maybe even buff it a little bit higher. And well, it's not a buff, but basically a nerf would be the upgrade point for 7 strength. Because now it's a Fort of Ebon Rock with same strength with an awesome ability. And you're gonna play this card for its ability, and now you cannot even counter it with execution. But hey, we were doing small buffs to the undervalued cards, so I'm happy for it. We also wouldn't update, or would we, like Arano said, that there wouldn't be any updates on the Elders, but I would definitely love like that Petrified Fossils would get a small buff, because I'm not gonna see this card in play, so maybe after start having damage command all stronger friendly units to move forward. That would be awesome. Or just give it a bit more base strength, because 7 strength for 5 mana that maybe pushes forward 3 strength Satires. That's not gonna make a lot of difference, but hey, we're gonna see, and that is something maybe for the future to decide. And we have Lasting Remains. This card has a big body, but I would definitely maybe just a small buff, give him 16, 13, 11 or something. Maybe it just doesn't go up that smooth, but just maybe a little bit more, and we're gonna see this bad boy in action, commanding himself forward and over again, because I really like this card. But now for 7 mana I would definitely always play a different kind of card, and also Undead has no synergies. So for the Winter Pact, I think Winter Pact is pretty solid. A lot of people are talking about Midwinter Chaos and what's going on there, but hey, I will just skip that. Maybe Blessed with Brawn, but I think Blessed with Brawn is also pretty awesome now with the Eldest coming up. So I think that's fine. So the only card I wanted to talk about is Jouberts. So for 9 mana, 16 strength, for 9 mana, 8 strength. With a condition, it's not that much if you look at for this guy, for example, or you have like half guards. It's way easier to trigger, and it's more value for way less. So I would have loved this card to be 9/9 at least on max level, and maybe 5/5 here, and then just go up that way, or maybe even 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. So it becomes a real big bad boy. But hey, Jouberts needs to chill down, because also Frostcon uses this as his avatar, right? Or is it someone else? I'm not sure. You know, you guys know. So maybe not a popular opinion, but what I really think that is the dragons for Shadowfen could have used the buff. Wandering Worms, for example. I'm not using this much. Maybe give it a bit more base strength, or make its ability a bit more high rolling. Value wise, it's still good if you can get max value out of it. I think on lower levels it is better than on higher levels, because its base strength doesn't increase. But hey, that's something. And Sunbeam Serpents. Some people are really gonna be like, what? Why should this card get a buff? Well, I think this card could use a buff, because what are the odds that you use Ludic Patriarchs and then Dangerous Suitors and then play Sunbeam Serpents? We do not live in that universe, at least not where I live. So I would definitely would like this to have like a 7 strength, a bit stronger of a body, maybe only 1 strength, right? Would be enough. So it becomes just maybe a tipping point when you go full dragons. It's just a little bit better. And we also have Broadmother Cordia, where I would definitely love to see the hatching dragons to be a bit stronger. Because most of the times all nests will die. And you lose a lot of game speed as well. And if maybe one survives, for example on level 5, and it has 8 strength or 9 strength, then it's 19 for 7. So then you have like a lot of value. But now it's just 17. And it's like, meh, not that good. But hey, it's still a nice legendary. You can still use it in a lot of cool situations. Alright, so what do we have here as well is the Siege Breakers. Oh, by the way, I forgot that Unhealthy Hysteria also cost 2 mana now. That's gonna be huge. We're gonna see a lot of this card. So Siege Breakers is something I wanted to talk about as well. So give this guy some love. I would like to see this card to be surrounding instead of bordering, because it's so hard to deal with the structures, and this structure can then also deal with like the big structures. Well, I'm like a pro structure player. Like, I really would like to see more structures in the game, but there also needs to be a counter for it, and this card is it. But I don't or never will use it because it's so hard to trigger its ability when it's bordering and everybody just pushes it on its own baseline. So that's why. And which one do we have more? This is not for me important, but what I would like to see is that Snake Eyes would be draw 4 cards on all levels. So on lower levels it becomes a bit more usable. I think on higher levels with the recent buff that it has a lot of strength, becomes somewhat better. It's still tricky to play with, but I would definitely like to see this card getting a bit more useful on lower levels. And well, we got Boomstick Officers. Got a recent buff yet. I don't see him, because now it's random enemy behind, not directly behind. So it becomes better, value wise it's strong, but it's still so tricky. So maybe even one ability would have done the trick. And we got, I'm not sure about Calvate, because I never see this card in play. So maybe that would be nice to see this in action. But it looks good. It's slow. So maybe add 1 more strength. I'm not sure. I would like this card to be a bit more played, but it's fine maybe as it is. And to round it off, Joust Champions. Like, technically this guy can be pretty strong, but practically he isn't. So maybe Joust Champions, giving him maybe even give him 1 strength, 1 ability would definitely help. Or otherwise +1 additional damage to it as an ability. Like, there are like 3 different ways to buff this card, and I think it's like base strength, ability strength, or both. I think one of those would be good to see this guy, because he's a cool knight. Everybody starts with him, and show him some love. He's in the game for like forever. So that's basically it. And well, obviously I do not have the statistics about the cards, so everything is just my gut feeling and my opinion about it. So let me know what you think about my feedback on the update, and if it's any helpful for you. So thanks guys for watching, and see you guys next time. Cheers!